Alright, so we are going to make a short video on here about punching the ABCs. So we are going to set up a session at 44.1 and call it your punching your ABCs. Now we start with a blank session, so the first thing we want to do is create a click track. If we went to track, we can make a new track there, but at the bottom of that menu, there's create click track. So just by clicking that button, a click track has been made for us, which has the name click, the click plugin on here, and it's got its output set. So right away, that's a little fast. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. If you were going to be punching in every letter or every other letter, that might be a little difficult. So what we're going to do here is we're going to pull up the transport. We're going to pull up our Pro Tools transport, which is another pop-up window. So it's located here under window. On your handout it says transport. You may just want to write that it's under window. And we pull up our transport. When we're in our transport here, we have the ability to change the tempo. If we zoom in on the transport, on the right here, we have the expanded transport and everything lined up for ourselves. But we can notice there's a tempo here, and it's grayed out, and we can't click it. If we click on the conductor here, we can turn him off, and that gives us the ability to do something cool, which is go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or even you can tap a tempo. You can highlight it and you can hit what letter on the keyboard to tap for tempo. T. So I suggested that we maybe do somewhere around 80 beats per minute. We can type it in or we can tap it in. Now our tempo is if we zoom into Pro Tools here, if we zoom in, we can see measure 1, measure 2, measure 3, measure 4. But we can also tell that the grid doesn't really line up here. If we go up to our timeline at the top here, here's our different rulers, minutes and seconds or bars and beats. If I click on bars and beats, I will see that this will change and correspond to 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. A, B, C, D, E. That's how we're going to count this out. So now we have a click track. It's important that you guys put your words to a click track. A lot of things that are done in Pro Tools are laid out to a grid. So to be able to do this lesson and put things to a grid will help you out a lot as far as being a Pro Tools engineer. So we've looked at our transport and we've made our click track, and we know that we can change our tempo right here with the conductor. And we clicked on our ruler for bars and beats so that our grid laid out corresponding to that. So far, so good? All right. We have our tools up here at the top, which we're going to learn throughout tonight, are how we can move our waveforms around in Pro Tools. We also have our different edit tools along the top here. Some of you guys have used these in the past. So we have our smart tool right here. We have our trimmer, our selector, and our grabber tool to move waveforms around or cut them apart. We're going to use the smart tool tonight and take advantage of what that can do for us. So let's start with this process. By now that we have our click, what do we want to make next? An audio track. We're going to make a new audio track. We're going to call this Vocal 1, Vox 1. And I'm going to set the input, whether I do it in the mix window or the edit window here. I'm going to set the input of this to built-in input 1 and put it in record. Hey, 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 hey. This is my super fancy microphone. I got it for free from Garbage. That's why it sounds really good. So for the purpose of this lesson, I am going to add an EQ to make it sound better. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 2, 2. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 2, 2. Yes, yes. Hey, hey. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. Check, check. 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, all right. So now that we have our vocal track there, I am going to pause and explain something new to you right now within Pro Tools. It's under Setup here. It's under the Setup menu. Now, when we're recording in Pro Tools, this is an important lesson. I don't know why I'm using the microphone right now. You can clearly hear my voice. We're going to go to Setup and Playback Engine. This playback engine, the hardware buffer size right here, this hardware buffer size is how fast the audio gets recorded into Pro Tools and processed digitally and then becomes analog again and comes out for us to hear. It can be really short, this buffer size, down to 32 samples, almost instantly. Or it can go up to 1,024 samples or even more. And this is basically called latency. If we are at 32 samples, the sound of my voice comes out right away. If we change the playback engine to 1024, you will notice there's a delay in my voice. It's actually hard to hear the delay in record because your voice is behind. So you will want to take another note on that. When you're recording, you want to go to Setup and go to your playback engine. It's how fast the audio is played back from the computer. It's taking a long time for the sound to go in and out of the computer. I want to change that and make it as short as possible for recording. It is called latency. That is latency. The reason we have to do this is because in Pro Tools, sometimes when we record, we want to allocate all the speed of the computer to recording and getting the audio in and out as fast as possible. When we're down to our mixing, we don't need to record and get audio in and out of the computer that fast. So by increasing the hardware buffer size when we're mixing, it allocates more power to the computer for mixing in all of your plugins, and it won't crash all of the time. Pro Tools, like when you're playing it, when you're playing Pro Tools or trying to record, it will stop and say, your buffer size is too low, try to increase your buffer size. That's your CPU overload, yes. So, to review again, we started by making a click track, which is right there, and it has our click plugin on it. We went to, under Window, we went to our transport, and we used the transport so that we could set a tempo for the song. Next, after that, we made a vocal track, an audio track, and we set our input so that it has the voice recording on there. Now here's the first thing. I want to see if my headphones are okay, the volume between the click and my voice. So here comes the big part of the lesson, one of the big parts of the lesson. I hit play, check 1, 2, check, check, check. I can't hear myself. I can't hear, oh now I can, oh now I can. This is what people always say. I can't hear myself. Oh, now I can. I can't hear myself. I can't hear myself. I can't hear myself. Oh, wait, now I can. people want to be able to audition themselves on this track. So in Pro Tools, you will hit Option and K. And when you hit Option K, a few things will happen. When we hit Option K, can anybody see anything changing on Pro Tools right now? There's 3 green lights that are popping up. There's 3 green lights. One is at the top here in the edit window. One is right here in our transport. And one is actually on the track right here. Now this depends on if you have Pro Tools or Pro Tools HD, this one down here. So you won't even see this one tonight when you work. And you won't see it on your home computer version of Pro Tools. You'll see it on higher end ones. You will see these 2 right here, which are both located within the transport. That green stands for input monitoring. Notice when the track is stopped, it doesn't matter if I turn it on or off. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. When I play the track, check, 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 check. Now I can hear it. Now I can rehearse, audition. I can monitor the input of this track without having to record it. A lot of people that don't know what they're doing in Pro Tools, or some people that teach themselves, and also a lot of rappers that don't care to learn, all make this mistake. They don't know about this feature. They can't hear their voice, so they just start recording all the time. And then they just keep recording so that they can hear it. And they keep recording because they don't understand this part of the process. So you're wasting hard drive space and you're making your Pro Tools session cluttered. You're wasting hard drive space, you're making your Pro Tools session cluttered. It's just not good to do. Have a bunch of fragmented audio that's not being used. So the first thing we're doing right here is called input only monitoring versus auto input monitoring. Yeah. It says here, it's a little different on the older versions of Pro Tools, but set recorded tracks to input only. Some will say input only monitoring on Pro Tools. And if you go back up the track, it will say auto input. God bless you. The difference is if we look at the screen right now, the green light means it's on input only. Without the green light means auto input. Yes. This is used for when you're doing overdubbing. When you're going to do overdubbing and you want to punch in vocals, etc., etc. What we're going to do here is we're going to play with this right now. Let's play with it on input only monitoring. And the wheel's going round, and the wheel's going round, and the wheel's going round, and it stops on what mode? What mode has this stopped on? Input only monitoring. So let's play with input only monitoring. I will hit record and I will hit play. Yabba dabba doo, yabba dabba dabba doo. Yabba dabba doo, yabba dabba dabba doo. Now I'm not hearing anything. I'm not hearing anything. What would I do to make myself hear this track? Take it off what? Take it off of input only. Input only. Oh, I can still hear myself right now. That's great. When I play it, I can't hear myself, but yabba dabba doo, yabba dabba dabba doo. Yabba dabba doo, yabba dabba dabba Now I can hear this vocal part that was recorded because it is automatically on input. It is not on input only now. What mode is it on? It's on what? Auto input, which means this. Yabba dabba dabba doo. It automatically switched to input here when I put it into record. Yabba dabba doo, yabba dabba doo. Yabba dabba dabba doo. I still can't hear myself unless I put it back in record. And I can't hear myself, it's automatically on input mode. And when I go out of record, it automatically goes back to playing back whatever's there. Nothing is there, so nothing is being played. If I want to hear myself, what do I have to do right now? I'd have to throw it in record, or what's my other option? Switch it to what mode? Option K, to switch it to input only monitoring. Is this confusing to some of you guys? Is it confusing? I would say it's a little confusing. The point of this whole thing is if you want to record on a track, the point is if you want to record on a song or overdub a part, I'm going to mute this out. Check, check, check. Check, check, check. All I want to do is now record another track over this of bass guitar or something. So if I go to record the bass guitar onto this track, alright. So when we go to do this track now and I want to listen and I want to add a bass guitar, if I throw this track on record and say, hey, play the bass with it, let me see if the level's good. Do, 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 do. I can't hear my bass to see if I'm like recording a good bass level. I can't hear my bass guitar. I can't monitor it right now. I have no idea what the sound is like. So the only alternative is to record it. So now I'm just going to record my bass so I can see if it sounds good. That makes no sense. It's not the proper way to do it. It's not the professional way to do it. You're wasting hard drive space and everything. So the way that you do it is to put Pro Tools on input-only monitoring. You need to be able to monitor the input of that track. You don't want to just sit there and record onto that track to be able to hear it. That makes sense? So I've seen this as well. Let's just record a bass track. Okay, I set my level. It sounds good. I listen to it on input only. So let's record it. And you might forget and leave it on input only. Okay, that was good because I was on input only, so I could hear my bass part, audition it, then I recorded it. Now play it back for me. I don't hear the bass part. Why? What does that track have to be on? What mode is it on? What mode does it have to be on? It's on input only, and it has to be on auto input. So ready? Let's switch it back to auto input, option K. Now I can listen to that track. You can't play anything back that's been recorded unless it's on auto input. Correct. Yes. Now, what if I wanted to fix part of this bass line? And I said, hey, punch me in for the second half. So I could do that. Okay, I can't hear myself. I can't hear myself. I can't hear myself. I can't hear myself. People freak out. So you put it on input only, and then people go like this. I can't hear myself. I don't know where to punch in. So it needs to be on auto input. Now when I punch in, it will automatically switch from playback to input. So I hear what was there, and then I hear myself when I engage recording. I wanted to change it, let's say. So now I'm using auto input so I can hear it. It played what was there. Then when I punched in, it let me hear my input. It automatically switched. Is that making sense to you guys? The difference between input only and auto input? Some of it should make sense, and some of it should be confusing. Great question. Once you have something recorded and you want to punch in and out on it, what we want to do is we want to be on auto input mode. Are we on auto input mode right now? Yes. So to punch in and do overdubs, you always want to be on auto input mode. If you want to be in like rehearse or audition mode and hear what would be on that track, you want to be on input only mode. If you're in auto input mode and you put the machine in record, it automatically switches to input mode. Yes. Yep. Auto input when you're doing punch-ins. Yep. We can tell we're on auto input mode because what is not lit up right here? The green light. What does the red light mean right there? It means that there is a track in record, yes. All right. So let's ditch these tracks right now. Actually, let's just hide them and make them in. Let's make a new track right now, a new audio track. Vox 1. Okay. Vox guide. We're going to do a Vox guide. We're going to make it input 1. Throw it into record. I'm going to add an EQ plugin again. Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2. Check, check, 1, 2. So, now, we've made our audio track. We've talked a little bit about the auto input. And now I'm going to show you guys the basics of this lesson. Yes, this is your lesson. 8 counts. 8 counts. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. You'll see that some of them I recorded a little fast and a little slow. We're going to learn how to edit these and put them in time a little bit today. All right, now we have just recorded the guy voice. So what you're going to do is record over this with a girl voice. So now you're going to pass the microphone to the other person, the girl or the guy. And now we're going to punch in every other letter on this track. It will make you very good at punching in and out. In order for us to be able to punch in Pro Tools, you have to right-click here and you go to Quick Punch on the Record button. In order to punch in and out on Pro Tools, you need to go to Quick Punch. Quick Punch lets you punch in and punch out. You may want to take notes on your handout there. On the numeric pad of the keyboard, 0 plays and stops. 3 will punch in and out. 0 plays and stops. 3 will punch in and out. So on your keyboard, 3 will punch in and out, and 0 will play and stop. Here is 0. Once it's 0, punch in, punch out, punch in, punch out, punch in, punch out. So 3 lets you punch in and punch out. 0 plays and stops. So now we have the female voice. And we are going to try to do this by punching in and punching out. Now, Alex might be like, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then Olivia might be like, they're going to be different volumes. So you're going to have to match the volume with the preamp on the console to try to get them similar. So in that case, you may want to hit Option K and jump in and out while you're playing this, so we can hear. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K. So you can tell the girls' voices are a little quieter. Let's go to our preamp and turn it up a little bit and make sure they sound pretty volume-wise matched. Input gain. Now, let's go to the top of this song or recording project and let's do our punch in and out. Here we go. A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, N, O, P, Q, R, T, U, V, W, X, Y, Z. Do you see how punching in and out? There's a few things that happen in this project. Students forget their ABCs. Students forget their ABCs, which becomes one of the more difficult things regarding this project. Believe it or not. But now, are you guys okay so far with this lesson? All right. So now that we've got that recorded, now we need to fix this up a little bit, this track. So now what we want to do is make sure all of our WAV files are lined up to the grid. There's a great button on here called Tab to Transient. It's on your handout, and it's up here if you look on the computer right now. Tab to Transient is this awesome button up here in Pro Tools in the edit window. Tab to Transients. It looks like when you indent, when you hit tab, and then it shows a sound wave. It means by hitting the tab button, the cursor is going to go right to the sound wave. So if I click here, for example, and I hit tab, it went right to A. So what we can do here is right on our Pro Tools handout again, it says Command E to split regions. I can split this region right here, Command E. Now I have isolated that. A. Later on, we're going to talk about how to move these. When we have our Smart tool up here, we notice that there is the trimmer, the selector, the grabber, and we can do some fades and crossfades. So when I use the Smart tool, if it's above the center of the waveform, it's the selector tool. If it's underneath, it's the hand tool. I can even highlight things and delete them. If I'm close to the edge here, there's my trimmer tool. So I can use the trimmer tool if I want to tighten up some waveforms. But let me keep going through the tab through transients. If I hit tab, let me go back and show you this again. Tab to transients, when we hit it, tab, goes to the beginning of the sound wave. It goes to another transient. It goes to the end of the sound wave. Then it jumps to the beginning of the sound wave. I hit it again. It goes to another transient, an attack of a waveform. So I could Command E and split that and delete this region here. We can use this trimmer thing to adjust however we want. See how C starts before this? That's not correct. So sometimes we just have to listen. And we can drag these and move them. That sounds a little too late. Because if you notice, C, the consonant starts a little before. Otherwise, this is a great learning tool. C. It's really like the E that we focus on the one sometimes. Interesting to learn. So we're going to use our Smart tool and scroll through here to edit up our waveforms. Any questions? Okay so far? A little bit to take in? When we move things in Pro Tools, there are two ways to move them that we're going to focus on. Slip means we can put it anywhere, and grid means to put waveforms right on the grid. 1, 2, 3, and 4. That is also on here for our edit modes. Grid mode and slip mode towards the top of your handout there. If I was going to examine a waveform here, these two waveforms, if I'm in grid mode, well, if I'm in slip mode, I can move a waveform anywhere I want. And it doesn't always exactly get on the beat. If I'm in grid mode, then whenever I move this, it will only go to the quarter notes. So once I start punching in, we record all of our A, B, C, Ds with one voice. Then we punch in with a different voice in and out on every other letter. Then we go to slip mode and we start to analyze and listen to every waveform and make them the appropriate length. We can make these shorter, whatever we want. Then once we have them all cut up the way we want them, we can stay within slip mode or grid mode. Slip mode, or we can go with our grid mode like we said. This one's slightly off and we want to get it right on the beat. We can use grid mode to get things and get them right on the beat sometimes. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, E. Okay, you get that so far? Once we start taking all of our letters and we cut them up just to get rid of the background noise and get only the letters we want, Then we line them up to the grid. Now we've got a bunch of cut pieces of audio. And you can hear these ticks and pops. So the last thing we want to do, which is another thing we wrote on this handout, is our fades and our crossfades. With the Smart tool, we can look at a waveform, and we have this trimmer tool. We have the trimmer, we can trim the beginnings and ends. We have the selector tool. We have the grabber tool. But if we go to the top of a waveform, we can fade in or fade out. Not that we want it to sound like that, but we can fade in and fade out. So you have the ability to fade in and fade out on certain waveforms, on any waveform. But when we are done and we cut all of these up and we align them, what we want to do is highlight each one of them. So we can highlight this one, and then we can hold Shift and highlight that one, or highlight that one, and highlight that one. Or we can hit Command A, which is on the handout as well. Command A here. If you look at the computer screen, Command A highlights all of the waveforms. So if I was just going to click on one of them, I could Command A and highlight them all. And if I were to hit Command F, it pulls up this batch fades, which I spoke about before. So now, this just added a fade to every single one of these wave files. Tiniest little fade, in and out, and in and out, and in and out, and in and out, and fade ins and fade outs. So that when we listen to it, these ticks won't be so apparent, these noises.
A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J.
So by using Command F, I know this is not perfect, I'm hurrying for the lesson, but as you go through each one of these waveforms, you can use fade-ins and these crossfades, and this Command F to do batch fades, to fade in and out each one of these waveforms. If we wanted to make an adjustment to a fade, you can simply click on the fade and delete it, and make your own fade if you wanted to. You can double click on the fade and decide that you want to change the way it comes in or out. So it'll come in a little bit quicker and more aggressive. So this is our Punching Your ABCs project. Is to have you guys go through and put two different voices, try to match the input levels of each one. Try to match the input level of two different voices and edit them all on the same track. Would you do this in Pro Tools nowadays? No, there's so many different tracks in Pro Tools. Is this a really good lesson for input monitoring and punching in and punching out, setting your fades and moving waveforms around and setting it to a clock? Yes, it is. There's also an alternate method on here where we would do a vocal track that has A, B, C, D, E. To give you more practice, we have the original wave file there, A, B, C, D. What we can do is alternate lesson number 2 is again just work on cutting every other one of them out and making another vocal track that is girl vox, and then recording another track with the girl vocal, A, B, C, D, F, G, H, I, J. So when we do it this way, I'm going to zoom in and show you really quick, but there's even background noise sometimes on other tracks. So lesson number 2 with this is to even have it on different tracks like this. There's a lot of times in hip hop, in vocal, pop music, rock music, everything, where we are doing a verse and then a chorus, or ad-libs, or layering things where they are on multiple tracks. And this lesson is just designed to help you punch in and out and edit waveforms up. Do you have any questions? Does it seem pretty easy, just with a lot of parts? I know with the handout and by watching this video, if you watch in the future, it'll probably just help reinforce it, but the best way to learn this is by hitting the ground running and doing it. So that's the video, and thank you for watching.